Peace, y'all. The question here is, does the texture of rap's language translate well in academic spaces slash discourse? By texture, I mean delivery, vulgarity, coarseness. I ask because I think these elements of rap might prevent it from being a referent for scholarly, religious, and literary writing slash works that do not have to do with rap. There's a LOL at the end. As always, I appreciate the question. I guess the short answer is yeah, like absolutely the coarseness or the texture of the language does put people off. If there was no resistance, then I would think that, well, maybe this isn't the work. And I do judge my work. I very often judge my work based on the kind of resistance that it receives. I'm not trying to prove to academia that hip hop is academic because that's silly. It's absolutely silly at this point to be trying to prove that hip hop is academic or that like rappers are smart or rappers are philosophical or that rappers engage in rhetorical analysis or some kind of like encoding and decoding whenever we're making statements to the world. All of that, that's somebody else's work. I'm saying that it might be valuable, but that's not what I'm here to do. So if someone says that they want to quote me, but they won't quote me because of the coarseness of my language, yeah, then shit, find something else to quote then. That might mean that we won't end up, as a part of that discourse, but I still think it's important for us to make that work because the reality of hip hop and this country and the world is that there are far more people who are listening in the everyday ways, that are evaluating in the everyday ways, that are studying in the everyday ways that have nothing to do with academia, which makes me believe that that time isn't going to come. Now, there might be folks, you can see it when police officers are testifying, trying to interpret lyrics that rappers said in order to try to convict them. You see that kind of like these authoritative uses of the translation of rap. You see that. You see academia doing a certain version of it as well. But my work is to make sure that folks who do decide that they want to come to academia to study or that they want to listen to whatever I'm doing, that what they hear, they recognize, what they see, they recognize, what they're engaging with is something that they know was made with them in mind as the primary audience, as opposed to when I pick up an academic book, sometimes even if it's about hip hop, it might be about hip hop in my hometown, yet it reads as though it's not written for me at all. I'm writing for home. I'm writing for me. I'm writing for us rather than writing for them so that they can understand us. If they're committed to misunderstanding us, I give no fucks if they actually turn around and then start. I don't believe that me making this is going to make the light bulb go off for them and then they be like, oh, I get it now. Now I'm going to stop being as shitty as I was to those people because like I just never understood. That's unlikely. In academia, I imagine that people who are committed to misunderstanding Black folks, committed to misunderstanding Black music, committed to misunderstanding hip hop will pretend to not get it, and they will take any excuse that they can to put you on an outside. So whether it's coarseness, vulgarity, not being scientific, being emotional rather than something else. I mean, I think that we've had a long history of these kinds of this language that relegates folks want to keep on an outside to that outside. I don't think that I'm as worried about the translation of hip hop in academia. I thought that was what I was going to do, that I would try to demonstrate how rap is like actually academic by using the language that academia has to talk about poetry, literature, philosophy, etc., and then say, here's how rappers are doing those things. What changed my mind about that was like the sheer commitment that people had to misunderstanding things that seemed really simple. These academics are incredibly adept at understanding all kinds of shit, but then when it comes to Black folks, it just seems like all the sense go out of their head and nothing computes anymore. I mean, I think that that's just kind of like whiteness. It can be all encompassing, but at the same time be innocent, complicit, ignorant, and all of these other things. In a certain way, it's kind of brilliant the way that it can sit there and fester, steal and pillage and plunder. It seems as though the onus ends up being on like the people who make rap music or the people who want to bring rap into academia to try to translate it. When if it benefits them to colonize it, then they will colonize it, like all the way up to just being able to understand reference, to being the people who are the only ones who can translate. My work understands that its audience, even if it is in academia, is not necessarily academics or not all academics. And I feel relieved to not have to convince academia, or the convincing that I'm doing is not the primary objective of my work. That does mean that there are fewer opportunities. That means that there are times that someone is literally telling me that my research, or that what I'm researching or what I'm thinking is an interesting question, is not real, or that it's not worth investigating. I mean, I've had editors tell me the thing that I'm talking about is not a real thing, and then come back later and be like, hey, my bad. You know, I guess you just kind of have to deal with that and also develop a thick skin. Like I said, whiteness in its ability to be simultaneously complicit in all of the bullshit, but also innocent and invisible and ignorant, means that folks can plead all of those things at the same time and get away with it and make it seem as if you're overreacting whenever you do name whiteness as being as pervasive a technology as it is, and them employing it because in the way that folks can claim invisibility, they're like, well, it's not whiteness, it's not race, it's not racial, and then they blame it on some other bullshit that they come up with. It's a struggle for sure, but that translation issue, I can't say I've done away with it, but I think about it a lot, and today I'm absolutely not interested in the translation of my work for academia. I'm more interested in the recognition that folks have whenever they do chance upon my work, or chance upon the kind of work that folks that I work with are putting out into the world. Appreciate the question. Peace.